Hi, I'm Ben Byes.
And I'm Carlie Byes. We've been married for 12 years and together for 15 and have 2 boys.
This is our story of a controlling church and spiritual abuse and how it shook our relationship and clouded our view of God.
Our desire is that our honest view of pain and trauma in relationships can provide hope and the courage to hold on when life does not turn out as planned,
while also providing a dash of humor and loving banter.
We are still working to find wholeness, and we welcome you on our journey.
Welcome back.
Happy Thursday, friends.
Finally. Thursday.
Yes, it's Thursday. When you listen to this, it's Thursday.
Yes. Well, let's just jump right into it. We talked a little bit last time about the business, and before we move on with that, some conversations and different thoughts have come up from reading some old journals.
Yes. We have so many journals. Mostly me.
Mostly
I have so
Carlie.
many journals. We used to write so much.
Yeah. Mine mostly were like long prayers.
Yeah. Well, so. most of mine were that too. But we would take notes on all the Bible studies that we are a part of, like the one in college, and then once we got to the church, like we just constantly taking notes because it was just, we were being fed so much.
Yeah. And it's a good habit to be in. Yeah. Anyone out there who takes notes, good for you.
And journaling is helpful for me in just processing.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
But going through some of that car, what? And part of this beginning is I want to go through what was Carlie thinking? Because a lot of this has been story-oriented and talking about the different situations we were in and selling T-shirts on the street corner and making macrame, handmade African artwork. But I also... we were talking a little bit last week how maybe you guys are missing a perspective on how Carlie really felt during this time. So we wanted to take some time, and this is the What Does Carlie Feel segment.
Nice.
Thank you.
Did you have that planned?
No, that just kind of came out. It was like the final four. So
it's your special gift.
Yep.
And just in reading some old journals, a lot of stuff came up, not necessarily things that I haven't been in touch with the past 10 years. Like they still feel very like raw and real sometimes. But I just wanted to touch on a couple of things before we continued on with our story, just so, we knew where I was in this process, because we know where Ben is a lot in the story with the businesses and working so long and all of that. But, there's a reason why I got to such a terrible place, what we talked about in the first episode, of being on the couch on a Wednesday night, that one night, wanting to just leave everything.
Give up.
Yeah. And I would say probably about a year after we were married. So we were married in 2006. So about 2007. So the year of the game show and getting that money and starting these businesses is when I really started realizing that I was like struggling with what felt like lust. And not in the sense of like pornography or that sort of thing. But I really was, I couldn't really understand that I wasn't happy with my own life, which looking back feels so obvious.
Duh. But, you don't like your marriage right now?
But at the time, it felt like, how could I be feeling these things? Like it felt so wrong. But everything that I saw that was not my own marriage or my own relationship, I like wanted. So, like I felt like I could find something in every single movie or anything like on TV, looking in magazines. I was so like bombarded with feeling like just lusting after a completely different life, and what looked like these people in happy relationships and wanting that and wanting to, I don't know, just wanting a different life. And I remember being I felt so shamed. I was so shameful about it. it wasn't something I like discussed with anybody except my closest girlfriend at the church. And, and we just like continued to pray about it. But it was, it was so hard to like reconcile in my own mind, like why I was feeling that way. Because there really was no room for me to really be allowed to be disappointed with any parts of our marriage. Like that was just in no way allowed for either of us to discuss that. And so we didn't.
Yeah. If there was really, wasn't just in our marriage, but any part of your life, if you weren't experiencing some kind of joy, then there's something wrong with you. The joy of the Lord is your strength. So what's wrong with you that you are not experiencing God's joy?
Yeah.
You must not have enough of God's Spirit or His love or any number of things. So there's something wrong with you. It's not that your situation needs to change or that, in this case, our marriage just wasn't healthy in how we interacted with each other or how I treated her. It was that there's something wrong with you because you're not joyful.
And so much of the sermons were like, that was kind of how they were framed as well. You know, there was no like taking inventory on your own life and what really you were doing, especially because it was so like intertwined with the pastor and the businesses outside of the church. But like most of my journal entries around this time were about like me basically confessing for not having enough faith and apologizing to God for like not trusting him enough and not being content and like basically like some things that I had written was like be content in all things, and godliness with contentment is much gain, and like which are all true things.
Which are extremely true. This is the crazy thing about especially spiritual manipulation, is that you can take what really is true and just twist it just a little bit, because godliness with contentment is great gain. We should be content in our lives. We should have the joy of the Lord as our strength, but there also should be a realistic view of our relationships and how we treat one another. And if our marriages are lining up with what the Bible really says. But there was none of that. It was follow this plan, and if your result isn't joy, there's something wrong with you, which is not good.
Well, and we also knew that there wasn't going to be a change in our life in terms of like job stuff or like that. We knew that wasn't a reality. It wouldn't even have to have the discussion. We wouldn't have discussed it anyways, but like we wouldn't have had to discuss like, oh, well, maybe like let's reevaluate some things. No, there was no reevaluating anything.
Maybe we should make more than $0 a month. Could that help?
But it made it so confusing for me. Like, why am I feeling this way? And it just got stronger and stronger, really, as the years went on. But I remember for probably, I don't remember how long it was. I want to say almost a year. I told myself, okay, like no magazines, no like looking at like people.com, because I like loved doing that. I think we talked about that was one of my my indulgences or guilty pleasures that I used to love to do, and no romantic movies or comedies or any TV shows that had any sort of like romance or any sort of like happy anything.
And this happened this went on for quite a long time, even after we left, where we couldn't watch romantic comedies.
I never talked to you about this stuff.
But when we left, you had.
Yeah.
By the time we left, so the reason I say that is because I know there could be some people in certain situations where you're going through a rough time and you just think, well, once the bolt of lightning strikes, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But there's collateral damage in relationships, and there's time it takes to heal. And I remember for years after we had left the church, us not being able to watch certain shows and watch certain movies, not because they had sex in them or violence, but because there was too much romance.
Yeah. There was something that that we never had in our marriage, that I felt like I had never gotten from Ben, and it was too painful to watch that. It was too painful, but at the same time, like my flesh desired it so much because it took me out of my own reality. And that's what's so scary about, like, I hate to call it a stronghold because that's like the worst word, but in a
lust,
sense,
I mean,
yeah,
lust is
yeah.
just wanting something you don't have.
Yes, yeah. And it was such a strong thing over my life, and you don't have to be like, this isn't something that, like, obviously just like people that follow Christ deal with. Like, everybody can deal with this sort of thing. And I was aware enough that I knew I needed to, like, cut out those things, because continuing to do those things, like reading magazines and, seeing beautiful famous people and watching romantic movies, it was like only feeding my problem.
Yeah.
And so I knew I needed to cut it out, and it wasn't gonna, like, solve everything, but it was what I had control over at the time. And so I knew enough to try to, cut those things out. And it was really hard because at the same time,
You had nothing to do.
I had nothing. Well, yeah, you're never home. And it, like, you want to do things that gratify your flesh, like, because it feels good and it's nice and it makes you happy, like, did it really make me happy? No, because at the end of the day, you're still gone and we didn't really have a loving relationship.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's like the struggle, right? It's like why people drink and why people are into other things that aren't probably good for them, and really doing anything for the wrong reasons is going to be an issue. But, and not that any of those things are bad, not like reading magazines are bad or watching romantic movies. Like, obviously, like, those are not bad things, but I knew for me and our relationship and how it was, I knew I needed to cut those things out. And I remember, like, even turning people down to go see a movie, and, like, really having to decide, like, okay, am I going to put myself through this? Because it really, like, would wreck me for days. I remember it would wreck me for days, and it would draw more distance between you and I.
Yeah.
And that was, like, so, like, that felt so tangible. And even though there was already such a distance that was growing, the like, me contributing to that, like, felt like too heavy for me to bear in the way of watching a movie that I knew was going to set me over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And again, not like it's bad to cut those things out if you feel like you need to. That's all good too, but there has to be a realistic measure of being able to have honest conversations with people in your life also.
Yeah, and we never talked about it.
Never,
because,
no. I
mean, I don't know why, but then I do know why we never did. But it just, we would have never been able to, I think we knew early on we would never be able to come to an agreement on something that would produce some sort of change.
Yeah, and I think for myself, I knew that there was a deep down inside of me, there was a part that I feel like was God or the Holy Spirit continually pushing me towards, this might not be right. And of course, in our experience, it was the devil, but it was probably the Holy Spirit saying, hey, you need to reevaluate this. And I always knew that I couldn't allow that part of me to show because it would draw Carlie farther away, which would make things harder. But
yeah, that was the biggest thing, is you weren't, if I were to show any weakness and you were to show any comfort to my weakness, you were afraid that would basically push me to continue to be weak, and you couldn't have that.
Or, we've mentioned it before, have that Jezebel spirit, which throughout this business, I can't tell you how many times I was called to say, you need to, and our pastor would never address Carlie because Carlie's kind of a spitfire, and she had this weird, I think he was scared of her, if we've mentioned that before, because something I love about her is she's very strong with her convictions, and she's not going to act a certain way if she doesn't feel that way. And so it was always brought to me, you need to check your wife. You need to make sure she's in line, so that's how that went down.
Yeah, and your way of doing that, like, wasn't, you didn't really know how to do that in any other way of then, like, hey, you need to, like, more of a condemning sort of way. Like, it was, you didn't know how to do it in a conversation.
Why don't you have any joy in your life?
Right.
Are you spending enough time with God?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we were slowly growing apart during this time while me still being very supportive on the outside. And yeah, like continuing to kind of live like that double life. Where at home I was like somebody else, and, as you got busier and busier, I would kind of try to make myself busy with friends if I could, if there were times from outside the church, people that I would see, or even like people that used to go to church that no longer did, that I was still close with because we went to school together. I would give her like a haircut or something. But even though like I felt convicted hanging out with those people, and it was very much frowned upon by you, and like kind of, be careful, like she has a whatever type of spirit and you don't want to like catch it. Again, just like the controlling aspect, that you were being so controlled, and therefore you were controlling
right.
me, and really the only way you
end,
knew how to be in our relationship.
If you're in any situation that wants to deny you from exploring the truth, and obviously we didn't think it was the truth at the time, but anything that tries to control information is not a good thing. I think you can celebrate being able to see different perspectives and still hold strong to your core beliefs. But anything that tries to cut off those perspectives and not allow you to explore those perspectives is on the verge of putting you in a really bad spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, anything else you want to add on that before we move on?
No, that was just, that's where my mind and where my head and heart were at during this time. So just wanted to, I guess, let the people know that, it was very much an inner struggle, an inner battle that I was dealing with, and in beginning to realize that I was not happy in our marriage, and you weren't either. Like, we both were not happy with how things were. It was not as what we expected our marriage to be like. But again, we never had that conversation of like, what's going on with us? Like, let's fix this, Yeah. So we just continued to grow apart further and further. But yeah, this is where I was, and it just kind of obviously continued to get worse as I grew further and further away in my own protection from Ben. So getting back to the story now, now that you're all depressed about where I've been.
Come back.
I feel sad for myself all over again. I feel sad for us all over again. So we were getting ready to, go on this trip to Africa, to, which country? Nigeria, yeah.
To Lagos.
Because we went to Africa separately in college, like
Yes.
on mission trips. So I was getting confused. Yes, to Lagos, Nigeria.
Yep.
Was it a sister church there?
Yeah, it was a church that was one of the biggest ones in Lagos. That their head pastor had passed away, and his wife was running the church, and we were going to do a revival there ended up being for almost 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks we were there. So it was a musical worship revival.
Worship, preaching, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Kind of like conference style too, right? Like
Yes.
daily basis kind of thing. Okay. And people were coming from all over their country to come, and it was a big church.
It was a big church, as opposed to what we were used to. It was actually a very large church.
Yeah. But it seemed like everything we did at our church was just not planned out well or thought through well. So this again was a trip that was just sort of last minute.
Well, by last minute,
in
you're
terms
thinking,
of like traveling to
right,
Africa.
You're thinking of going to another country. You need like,
yeah.
you want 8 months to prepare. But I think for us, it was maybe like a 4-month period.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
4-month period of being like, oh, maybe we'll do this. Then like 3 weeks of, oh, we're really doing this.
Yeah, and like hit the ground running and expediting every single thing. We did some great
fundraising for it. One was the barbecue.
Oh yes, fundraising.
The barbecue, we brought in tens of dollars.
Which were my dollars. Just kidding.
That we stole from the homeless guy on the side of the street. We didn't actually do that.
Yeah, we did barbecue. I remember somehow like you guys would start delivering barbecue to people, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember who you delivered to?
No, I don't. It was
probably like
it was businesses.
No,
there was
friends
that worked at business. We did a catering event for someone who, it was a big African American award show, and we all worked it for free.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was super legit.
It was like a legit award show, and we helped cater. We basically picked up the trash and replenished things, and but we all did it for everybody in the church did it for free, and then we just got paid to the fund that was going to Africa.
Yeah.
And then the big one,
the silent auction. Was it a silent auction?
Silent auction.
Yeah. So we've talked about the many talents in the church. The
crafting.
the knitting and the I don't know. Yeah. The painting and whatever. Cooking and all of that stuff.
The dancing. Flags.
So we did a silent auction, and did we advertise for this?
I don't know. I know that I worked really hard to find a spot, and we ended up having a spot in Manhattan Beach at like a Elks Lodge.
Yeah, it was that
they donated to us, and we brought food in. And yeah, it is interesting when you ask, did we advertise? And you usually think when you do a silent auction, you need people from the outside world. I mean, if you're at a church when no one has money, what's the use of doing a silent auction when the people who have no money are coming to your silent auction?
But you had I remember you going to a lot of different businesses to try to get things donated.
Yes.
Do you remember what some of them were? Because I know they were like services of people in the church that had like actual jobs.
Yeah, some was services. I got donated a couple hotel stays. Yeah, I don't know. I called everyone in the area.
But we catered it. Like the church, like we cooked for it. Okay, so I remember that we had this silent auction, and it was cool because it was like not at our own church, so it felt a little bit more legit.
Yes.
And my family was there, and maybe a handful of like other like normal people.
Maximum 12 people that weren't in our church, with 30 or 40 different products.
And I remember being so mad at you because, do you remember?
Yeah, we delivered the food. But
because you guys had been cooking all day with
No. He had been cooking, we'd been doing our business.
Right, but like he had been cooking all day.
Yeah. Okay. So we delivered the food, and then we were going to stay there and help set up and stay there for the whole time. We were called back and said we couldn't possibly miss a couple hours of work to stay there. So we had to leave, and then
Yeah, so you guys came, dropped off the food, and you were supposed to be there like to support and
help
like run the thing. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you guys had just started HW Design, and could not be bothered to be at something that was important. Like you had way more important work to do, and so you were like summoned to go back to his house to work. And I remember being so mad because my parents had come all the way up.
Yeah.
And I was so embarrassed too, because I couldn't like explain to them like why you had to go.
Yeah,
like,
hey, this is something we worked on for months.
Yeah, and now he's got to leave to go like work at this fake business that's like stupid.
It was a real business, all right. We had a lot of good clients.
But I remember being so like that was such a hard night. I remember for both of us, and again, it wasn't something we could talk about.
Yeah, it was really hard for me too, in my own individual thinking. And honestly, for me, I just thought, a night away from doing the business.
Yeah, like you were
I just
excited
thought,
to be
I
there.
cannot wait to be at a different spot, just hang out,
Yeah.
eat some good food. Even if we don't make any money, I'm away from it. I put a
Yeah.
lot of work into this.
Like we could be together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And had you been able to respond like, hey, I'm so sorry, like I'm so mad I have to leave too, like it's just such a bummer, it would have been such a different like evening, you know, but it's like we didn't know how to communicate that. So instead I was upset with you and then you in turn got upset with me. Yeah, like we were both defensive towards each other.
Which is a great marriage lesson for everyone out there listening, because we are still working through that process to this day. It's okay to have honest conversations, even if you both don't agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. And if, as a husband, I'm doing something that's hard for me, it's okay to tell my wife it's hard for me. I have to do it anyway. And it actually makes her feel better about the situation, too.
Because then I don't
Instead of just being like, don't you dare question me. Because I'm so afraid that if somehow she questions me, it's going to make everything fall apart. No, it's okay to say, look, I don't want to do this either, but I have to because of where we're at in life right now. I'm sorry. I wish I could be here with you.
I don't feel alone in my feelings, you know, but instead, like, we're not communicating, like, real, and so then we're both like just angry at each other, even though we are feeling the same way, but like we can't possibly express that because like what that would cause a spiral of
doom.
Of doom. Exactly. So the silent auction was obviously a huge
a hit.
A huge,
we made at least $200,
a huge sack of cockapoo. And, it just felt like a total, but I remember feeling at the time like, oh, this was cool. I was still feeling proud of things we were doing at the time.
Well, I feel like even though it was totally made no money, it was still great that we put in the effort. If it wasn't for the products we had at the silent auction, it was a nice event.
Yeah.
And it had good food and it was set up well But, you know, just like anything else, no matter how much it's set, there's only so many logos you can offer to people in order to, you know, have them buy it so we can go to Africa.
Yeah. So we continue to be in the hole, basically, in terms of funds to raise. So we were raising funds, like, as a group, right?
Yeah, as a church we were raising funds, but I don't think we really understood what we were raising funds for. I think it was because we were like, oh, we want to make sure our pastor gets there. And our equipment gets there, some sound equipment, because we were going to donate some to the church, and we were basically making sure that like the core group of people got there.
Yeah. First class.
Well, that was one that's
Am I too soon?
Well, so yeah, jump to the end.
Well, not yet. Let's.
So we went through this process of raising money, and in the end, the money we raised went all towards buying our pastor a first class ticket, and no one else got anything. So it ended up all being for him for a first class ticket. Because in our mind it was like, oh, he needs to get there, but really it was because he said he needed a first class ticket. So
which obviously
it's a crap show. Yeah. All right. Like,
it's like the epitome of
after everything you've been through to try to get this thing off the ground. So then
we didn't question it. Do you remember feeling like, I don't remember feeling like, I mean, at the time I was still so blinded. Yeah. By like, no, he's like, this is absolutely what we.
Yeah, he's gonna write a new song on the way there.
Like we're gonna be like changing nations. So. Yeah. Like,
this was maybe the first legitimate time
fly in comfort
where we thought we might, because it was a different country and it was a very large church, and there was a lot of excitement surrounding it. They were excited to have us,
and we had been to Africa before, so that was exciting for us.
Yeah, we had both individually
loved our
been. Yeah, I went to Ethiopia
and I went to Zambia. So, we felt kind of like that.
We did both love Africa.
Yeah.
Our marriage did. I don't know about the rest of the church, but we had great experiences of seeing real life change there. And
now I hate Africa, but I'm just kidding. I don't mean to say that, but it's truth.
This one trip was hard.
That's an understatement, but we'll get there. So yeah, so we continued to try to raise money, and it seemed like we just continued to spend our money on things we were trying to do to raise money, and didn't actually end up raising money.
Buy more ribs to make money.
Yeah, buy more ribs to make more barbecue to sell to people at church.
So basically, what happens is we end up going to Africa, but
let's not
because
forget.
it was late in the process. We had to get our visas, and maybe we didn't understand the process fully, because when we had done it in college, we had some people supporting us, and we ended up having to get last minute and having to spend thousands of dollars on last minute visas.
Yeah, expedite our visas.
And ended up, and this was only a full year after we won the game show, or 2 years?
1 year.
1 year after we won our game show, and we ended up maxing out our credit card. Not even just our bank account money.
Yeah, our bank account money was gone.
We maxed out our credit card for our ticket, our expedited visa, and for a ticket for one of our friends.
Yeah. But we had to get there early. We decided we were going to get there early because the sound equipment, we needed to make sure.
We just needed to make sure everything was set in place and ready to go.
Maybe that was part of like your armor bearer duties.
Yeah,
so
we had to get there early. Yes.
Our best friends who were married decided that we were going to go together. So that was part of why we were leaving a day earlier than everybody else. So we had to
a full day,
have our visas
maybe
expedited.
Almost 2 days. It was like a day and a half.
Yeah, because of our layover.
Yeah.
So I remember driving to like FedEx like headquarters, like an hour away, to pick up our visas because they would not arrive if we waited for the mailman to come to get them.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have been able to enter into Africa.
Yeah, and like Lagos was so like sort of dangerous too at the time. I don't know if it still is, but
it was dangerous and is dangerous.
Like they would turn us away. Like it was very serious.
It was in a lot of turmoil at the time. Yeah.
So
between the Muslim and Christian influence, and there's a lot that goes into it.
So I remember having to drive to get that and just being so freaking annoyed. Like what am I doing? Like what are we doing? This is so annoying. But our travel ended up being so awesome because we were with our two best friends and we had a
16-hour
layover in Paris. And we kind of did it just work out that way?
It did sort of work out and sort of. I thought
everyone else was flying Delta. We were flying Air France.
Yeah.
And we just totally lucked out in terms of
so lucked out.
Yeah, it just was like kind of a little retreat because we were
your phones didn't
in
work.
Europe. Yeah, so no one could contact us.
No one could contact us. We landed at like 6 o'clock at night, I think, in
Paris. Our layover was through the night.
Maybe it was earlier. It was like early afternoon we landed. Then we took the bus into Paris. We literally went to every place in Paris.
The city.
Everywhere. And then our flight was leaving again the next day. But
we didn't have a hotel. We didn't have any money for anything.
No, we were just going to go walk around. And we did. And it was awesome experience.
It was awesome until about
4 in the morning.
4 a.m. when the subways closed.
We wanted to get back to the airport because our plane was going to leave.
But the subways closed from like 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So we were sitting outside in Paris, and it was very cold. It was very cold.
And I had
even though it was October.
It was October. I had my computer bag, remember? And like my shoulder was going to fall off.
Yeah, not even a backpack, a computer bag, not a backpack. We were so dumb.
We had no coats. So for 2 to 3 hours in Paris, we were on like a park bench in front of some cathedral, freezing our A's off.
Because also
freezing.
Nothing else is open. That city is lit until like 3 a.m.
Holy cow. You see like 40-year-olds walking around at like 1 a.m. No, 60-year-olds. It was
I was going to say 1 a.m. is not
no
even
big
that
deal.
Late, but
well, if we would have been allowed to go in bars at the time, we could have gone in a bar.
No, we went into a bar because it was freezing and we were so hungry. None of us had money. And in Europe, you have to like pay for water. So we had to like, we asked like for water and wanted to make sure like we didn't have to pay for it because we had no money. Like we were so maxed out. It was like one of those situations where we're like, okay, who's going to like, you know, overdraft this time? But then we're in Europe, so it's going to be like really bad, you know, with like the bank situation. We had no cash, we had nothing. Like what a terrible situation. Like my parents are probably cringing at the thought of like this happening right now. But, felt totally safe and like felt so alive and it was like such a fun experience, except for those 2 hours before the subway.
Except those 2 hours.
Because those were really miserable.
Carlie almost cried when we saw the place where Princess Di went under and got crashed into.
Princess Diana should have been part of my obsessions.
100%.
I stayed up
cried
all night.
She
watching
still
her
cries
funeral.
when she hears the name Princess Diana.
I stayed up all bloody night watching that funeral.
Not just stayed up all night, but also videotaped it.
Probably,
Recorded it.
No, I don't have many more. I think my mom finally did get rid of them, but I had all the newspaper clippings from her like life and her funeral.
Yes.
Because I'm a weirdo. I don't know what to say. I'm weird. But yeah, I like loved Prince William at the time, and he was like kind of the heartthrob of like, you know, my era. You know, when I was in, I guess I was in junior high when it happened, right?
I don't know.
I think 8th grade, yeah. But, oh my gosh, I remember I was at my girlfriend Megan's house, and she was asleep. I was spending the night, and I'm sitting up watching it because it was obviously in London, the funeral, so it's like a completely different time change. I remember just sobbing as Elton John's singing A Candle in the Wind. And yeah, just very connected. But
so that was the highlight of our Paris trip.
Well, that wasn't the highlight. It was obviously very, very, you know, sobering moment to see where she.
But it was like
crashed.
an amazing. We were free for that 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah.
No one could contact us. We were in a different country. It was the first time my phone wasn't ringing off the hook in years. It was just. It was so. It was like
the feel of like a normal life.
Yes.
You know, like just a very small glimpse of what maybe normal people deal with or get to experience.
But then we got on a plane.
Yeah, so then we get to Africa, and everyone else isn't showing up for at least, 24 hours or the next day. We get there at night, and I remember the first thing that happened was my freaking suitcase, the wheel broke off. And we all know there's a lot of dirt paths in Africa, and so my suitcase wheel had broken off, and it's just dragging the entire time. There should have been a sign of what the trip was going to be like, but it's not significant or anything. I just remember that happening and being so frustrated that it did, because it just made traveling to on our way home to Paris or with that bag was just the worst.
And the crazy thing to think about is we're literally flying into a foreign country. We don't know who we're meeting.
We have no idea where we're going. No idea where
and
we're
we
going.
don't know who we're meeting. We're just expecting to come there and then have somebody meet us.
We knew someone was going to be picking us up.
With a sign for us or something.
I don't even remember. We just knew someone was going to be picking us up, or we knew to take some sort of taxi. Did someone from the church pick us up?
Someone from the church picked us up. And I think there was a sign with our name, but I mean, we landed without knowing who was picking us up.
Right.
And in a foreign country where there was turmoil and war going on. And
there were armed guards everywhere with us.
Yeah. Well, once we finally got there, not when we first landed. So we ended up hopping in this lady's car, and it was in the middle of the day, and we drove, I think, 10 miles, maybe less, and it took us 4 hours.
Yeah, it was brutal.
It was. If
Classic
anyone
African traffic.
If anyone thinks American traffic is bad, this was the worst traffic I've ever been in.
Yeah, because they don't actually have lanes in Africa.
Well, they have lanes, just no one listens to
people just do whatever they want to do.
Well, in Nigeria, at least where we were,
yeah,
it was the craziest. I mean, we were on the freeway, and there's people selling stuff on the freeway, and it's not selling T-shirts. I mean, it's like, hey, I've got a toaster and I've got a car seat, and it's like anything they could find. They were just walking between the cars selling, and then the taxis were actually motorcycles. And multiple times we were in Lagos, I saw a motorcycle with the person on back, like run into a car in the back of the car, and then get mad at the car. But it took us 4 or 5 hours.
Just total nonsense.
And it was like crazy. We're sitting in this car looking at each other like, where are
like,
we?
what
We don't
the
know.
H are we
They could
doing?
be. Who knows where they're taking us?
Yeah.
We literally have no idea. And we finally showed up at the church that we were staying at. And we were treated like royalty because I think they thought somehow because we were there first, we were special.
Yeah, we were definitely treated like royalty. It was kind of weird. Like they were just kind of like waiting on us, and
Anything
where we
we
were
wanted.
staying wasn't ready for us
Yeah.
yet. So that's why we were at the church kind of waiting. And so like the pastor, who was this female, because her husband had passed away, and so she kind of took over, like had like a very powerful presence about her.
Yeah.
And I really did like her. And even to this day, I don't have like ill feelings towards her, like I do a lot of other people. But like she seemed very like real to me, even like looking back. But like I'll never forget when we first got there and we were in this like upstairs room. I like went to use the restroom, and I like had gotten something in my eye. And I'm telling you, for like 45 minutes to an hour, I could not get this thing out of my eye. It felt like I had fiberglass in my eye. You know when you have something in your eye and like you feel like you're never going to survive? Like I'm never going to see again. Like I'm blind for life.
Never going to not feel this
Yeah,
feeling.
I'm never going to, like I forgot what it felt like to just see normally
Yeah.
and not have my eye hurting so bad.
Yeah. Like if you ever have pink eye, that feeling like, I'll never know what a normal eye feels like. Carlie's never had pink eye.
That's not really what I was thinking, but
That's what I thought of.
no, this was like so incredibly painful. And I remember thinking, it almost felt like at the time, I remember thinking in my mind, is this like a sign? Like, is something bad going to happen? I felt really scared because we're in a country, we don't know anybody. We
There's
have no
just
way
four
to
of us,
communicate.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just the four of us. We have no way to really communicate. I mean, if we wanted to, I'm sure we could figure out a way to communicate. But we have armed guards with us,
Yeah.
like that have like heavy duty machine guns,
Yeah.
right? Is that what those were?
Yeah. AK-47s and yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, and so it was kind of like, I wasn't scared, but should I be scared? Like, looking at each other like, should I be worried right now? I had no idea, like, men with guns were going to be walking around with us, and are they on our team? Like, are they for us, or are they against us? But the eye situation was, like, very weird, and I remember feeling like, okay, is this like a precursor to how this trip is going to be? Or is like God trying to show me something? Because it was like very, I mean, we were like throwing water bottles in my eye because you can't use the faucet water there.
No.
So I was in the bathroom. I couldn't use the faucet water because you can't use the water. It was just very, like, it was a very unsafe feeling. Like I just felt very out of control. But it all ended up being fine. Everybody else got there the next day or whatever it was.
We were staying at like a compound. The
Yeah.
nicest place they had.
Yeah, by far the nicest place
they
had.
could put us. And you like
Yeah.
drive into these gates. They lock the gates behind you. And it's
And they
basically...
were like little like huts,
Yeah,
like
huts.
just studios,
Yeah.
studio like places that,
that
just,
had lizards in our room. But,
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's not a big deal.
yeah, it wasn't like, I mean, it would have been the same. It was like the same on our honeymoon, basically,
Yeah.
So it wasn't, I mean, not as luxurious,
Although
obviously,
it did
but
rain and our friend's room was flooding. We thought it was because he had a bad attitude.
I thought it was it flooding because of the rain, or was like the toilet flooding?
I don't know what it was, but
Yeah,
they
but he had a really bad
water
attitude
all
about
over
it.
their room.
And we remember saying, well, it's because he has a bad attitude
Yeah.
that this is happening to him. I hope he's laughing listening to this right now. You know who you are. But yeah, so when we got there, they were like very proud to like show us, like I mean, this was our experiences with Africa before. Yeah. Like, Africans are so excited to, like, share their culture with you and show you what they do, and
or just so proud to say, look, this is what we did for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
like
absolutely.
we went through all this to get you this great place to stay.
Yeah, and they paid for that. I think
they totally did. Their church did pay for where we were staying. Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, it was a gated place, and like, we would go to, like, a common area for breakfast every morning, and like, but at the same time, like, it was totally fine and great. At the same time, we're also in a third world country, so this is a very, like, while we're pretty adaptable, we are also in a third world country, so this is going to be this looks obviously different than anywhere in America that we would stay. But for Africa, this was, like,
it was
very
great.
high class.
It was a really nice place that they put together.
But do you remember our pastor?
No, you could. Well, you remember, so how about you share?
Well, you remember too. I reminded you, right?
Yeah. It was very embarrassing, yeah.
Well, so he gets there and he basically says, like, I'm not staying here. Like, this is unacceptable.
No, well, he didn't necessarily say that. He made us say that to the people.
Oh,
so
okay,
it wasn't necessarily him saying it. It was more like, hey, if you're gonna look out for me, you better tell them this is unacceptable. Yeah. So.
And, like, all of us are. And how many were there of us? There was probably, like, 25 of us from the church.
Maybe less. Probably 20.
Maybe 20
was probably about. Correct.
We're all, like, packed, like, unpacked, moved in for, you know.
And totally grateful because we know they did a lot for us to be here.
Yeah, and, like, we weren't, like, it was fine. We weren't feeling like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? We're staying here for 2 weeks, you know, like, at all. Like, it was just, and I think maybe because we had been to Africa, we already had kind of that expectation of what hotels or compounds are like there, you know. But I will never forget the look on their faces, the Africans' faces, the, like, leadership at the church who had, like, worked so hard to get us this place, when they were told that, like, this was basically total garbage for our pastor. Yeah. Like, it was like you had spent your life earnings on a gift for somebody and they basically just spit in your face. Yeah. It was so embarrassing. I remember feeling so humiliated and so embarrassed for them. And just like, dude, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. That was really hard for me to swallow too.
Even
that was
though I
really felt very attached to him, it was really hard for me to feel like people gave him what they had, the best that they had, and he acted like that.
So where did he end up staying?
He stayed in this compound, but they put him in, like, a different suite because there was nowhere else for it.
With his other armor bearer, because his wife was not
his
around.
Wife
his wife
not
was gone.
On a journey. But there was two. There was two armor bearers.
She gone.
Thanks a lot. There was two armor bearers staying with him in the 2-bedroom suite or whatever. So, more to come on that later. But he ended up staying, and we only had to complain a little bit, and we went to the church and did ministry, and there was some parts of it that were really powerful, and we saw God move. And I do remember one time, though, where I might not be speaking to you if in the midst of your own stupidity, God doesn't give you some grace. So we were about to start, I think, our second service at the church.
Very, very long days.
Yeah, long days.
Yeah, really long days.
When we talk about revivals, it was like from the morning to the night, and then for 2 or 3 days, and then a break, and then 2 or 3 days again. Yeah. And there was something going on with the sound equipment, and I mean, they obviously didn't have great sound equipment, but it was good enough. But it had to be perfect for our pastor. Like, perfect. It had to be just the right. And I know nothing about sound. I really don't. But I figured I'll go and make sure the chords are figured out. And then me and my good friend, who was also an armor bearer, decided we better go to the church before the second session starts and make sure that the sound is appropriate and ready to go. So the church was probably 3 or 4 miles from the compound. Yeah. That'd be my guess. 3 or 4 miles away from the compound. We didn't have a ride. We didn't have a telephone to call anybody to give us a ride. We had no way to contact anyone from the church. So I don't even know how to say this. We basically hitchhiked to the church.
In Lagos, Africa.
In Nigeria. I mean, we walked around and found someone who would drive us to the church and said we'd give him some cash. I mean, this is like how those bad stories start.
This is how Dateline stories start.
Exactly. And we went around walking around saying, who will drive us here? And we just hopped in some random person's car and they drove us there. We paid them. And
you got so lucky.
God, this is, again, why we say God's grace covers you sometimes even when you're dumb. It was, I mean, that could have gone bad very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah.
So we ministered there for a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the day before we were going to go back, the pastor took 4 of us armor bearers with him to a really nice meal that was nice in the nicest spot there, and it was a hamburger, and hamburger was undercooked, to say the least.
It was a smear burger.
It was a schmear. Is it smear or schmear?
Oh my gosh. That was a Michael Scott reference.
Yeah, it was. If you know, you know. If you don't, get up to the times. But it was very undercooked, and one of my downfalls is I just go along with things.
Yeah,
maybe
I was
when
going
shouldn't.
to say, why didn't you just say something? I mean, there's a difference between it like being pink and it being like full on raw, which it was raw. Like you could have smeared it with the bun. Yeah. It would have smeared across your plate. It was that raw.
It was that raw, yeah. I don't know. I have a hard time like sending things back or making
maybe because
people
we were in
feel
Africa
bad
too.
for things.
Like you don't want to.
Basically, the first time
like
I went,
that white person.
The first time I went to Africa, I went to Ethiopia with a missions team, and we went to this small village, and they slaughtered a goat in our presence, and then boiled it over water and served it to us. And none of the team was eating it, and I felt so bad, so I just started downing it. Just getting after that boiled goat. And I got so sick because I ate almost the whole thing and no one else was eating it. I felt so bad that so the same thing's happening here, and I'm like, I guess I better eat
it's fine,
this.
it's fine, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
So good. You did such a good job on this. So I totally just
ate it. You ate it, yep. And then it ate you inside. Boy. So everybody was leaving the next morning. Mm-hmm. We were staying there for another like 12 hours. We were not leaving till that night.
Yeah.
So the entire church.
No, they left that night and we were leaving the next morning because it was through the night we were there by ourselves.
Right. Okay, you're right. So they left that night. The 4 of us who got there early were leaving the next morning. So Ben is, I mean, the kid can throw up on a dime. But I have never seen him so sick. I mean, you were puking like what? A couple times an hour. Like the entire night.
Like I didn't sleep one wink. I would puke and then diarrhea. Then puke and then diarrhea. Then puke and then diarrhea. I didn't leave the toilet.
Laughing, but I was totally crying.
And we were, again, it was just us 4.
Yeah, we had no access to like call anybody. Like,
and no, I remember, like we had like a couple bottles of water, and that was it.
So they would stock our place every night because you can't drink the water. So they would stock our place would put bottled water in there. But for whatever reason, we didn't have enough water that night because everyone else had left. Maybe that's what it was. We didn't get our like normal like come home with a water bottle because I drink so much water. You know me, and I like my good cold water. And it was, I mean, we were like scavengers that night. I remember being so scared that like if something were to happen, I wouldn't know what to do. Like there was nobody to contact.
Anyone to contact.
And it wasn't like there was a lobby at this place to like go find. There was no phones in the rooms. It was just the 4 of us, and it was terrifying. I just remember we were up. I was up all night, like so scared for you. You were up all night puking your brains out, and just like praying for like the sun to come up so we could just
get back to America.
Yeah.
Get back to faucet water that I could drink. Just give me some hose water, please, God.
But so somehow you managed to live through the night. I don't know how, like honestly, I don't know.
Honestly, no, this is like a miracle. This and the burst appendix that somehow healed itself, like, are the miracles in my life. This was a miracle.
Yeah, this was a miracle.
This was so bad.
This was so bad. I mean, I like lost count how many times you threw up. It was so bad. But somehow we managed to like get to the airport. Like, I didn't think you were going to like, no. It was a miracle that you managed to make it to the airport from our compound without like puking.
Yeah.
Like you had maybe just puked everything up at that point.
Yeah.
We get to the airport. I mean, and we've got a long flight ahead of us.
Yeah. So we're on the plane.
Food poisoning's not something you want to be dealing with on a 24-hour flight.
Well, food poisoning or diphtheria? I don't know. What did I get from that meat? Probably way beyond.
Yeah, you would have been lucky for food poisoning.
Seriously. So we finally get on the plane, and then I'm like...
We have another layover in Paris.
And I'm puking on the plane the whole time.
Well, because, yeah, elevation just makes everything worse. Any ailment you're feeling, elevation makes it worse.
But then we have like another 10-hour layover in Paris, and it was supposed to be this great thing.
That we're like living for.
Let's go back to the point where we were leaving, before we left Africa, before our pastor left, he was given an honorarium, which was a large amount of money to him, and he knew we were staying, so he gave me, I can't remember how much, but it was a lot of money.
It was a couple $100.
It was more like $400.
It was. Cash. I remember it being like around $300 or so.
$300 or $400, and he said, spend this when you're in Paris. Spend it all on your wife. And it was like, again, one of those things where it's like, I would like to come back to America and be able to pay our bills.
Yeah, or like buy groceries when we get home. Yeah, because we literally had maxed out all of our credit cards, so we didn't know what we were going to be doing when we got home.
We did not know. And so we land in Nigeria. Sorry, we land in Paris for a layover. And we again take the bus into Paris. And the only thing I'm thinking the entire time is this. In Paris, you have to pay to get into like the restrooms, and they're at like the end of streets in every street, and every street corner we turn on, the first thing I think is, where's the next bathroom? Yeah, because I don't want to just poop my pants in the middle of Paris.
You've already done that before in Italy, so
yeah, and so I'm not enjoying it at all.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was miserable. We were there for like another 5 or 6 hours after getting there and getting back. Well, and
again, we had to walk around everywhere, which you like hadn't eaten in 24 hours and like puked up every single thing.
I literally felt like I was dying.
Yeah.
I thought I might die.
Yeah, it was really scary. It was really scary. But it was so hard to like have to spend that money. Remember how hard that was?
We went and like spent it on some like coat.
I remember I got a great jacket, yeah.
But it was still like nothing. But it was like, nothing you really would have wanted. But we were like, we have to spend this money. Buy this. He said we had to spend
because if we came home without spending that money, because he was going to ask you what you bought. If we came home without spending that money, you would have been in trouble. Yeah. Much like a lot of other like times he gave you money for something specific when we really needed it for like food or
and some
bills.
Manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we
got some good crepes.
We got some crepes. I puked in the bathroom in the restaurant multiple times. And then we got back to America.
Yeah, we did. We made it back. Yeah. We somehow made it back.
Talk about the worst planned trip to a country that's not necessarily safe.
Well, we just ended up spending so much more money than we would have needed to had we like actually planned. But so that was our Africa trip. And then it was kind of back to the grind, back to the businesses. And how did you guys even like...
Don't grind, you don't shine.
How did you guys even put off like projects you were working on to make this Africa
There was
trip?
one person that stayed back.
Oh.
Yeah, they did all the work.
Oh,
I'll tell you later. But yeah, there was one person that stayed back and did all the work.
Sorry, person. Okay, yeah, that was... So back to the grind, back to HW Design, back to Ben and Carlie growing further apart. And
the frigid, cold ice kingdom continuing to grow.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
All right, final four for the week is what?
Hidden talents, but we're going to do each other's hidden talents.
Yes.
Maybe some of them aren't hidden, but talents that maybe not everyone knows about each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I will start.
Okay, you start.
Okay. So my first hidden talent for Ben is that he is an extremely good writer. Which may not seem very, like, cool. But I'm a terrible writer in the sense of like writing papers, and like it's something that I can always go to him and ask for advice. Like, okay, how should I write this? How should I say this when it's something like professional? And you're just really good at professionally putting things on paper. Like really good at, like you were able just to like write a cover letter for like when you applied for a job, and I honestly would not know the first place to start with a cover letter. Like, I would be Googling, what is a cover letter?
It's basically from writing business plans. So it all comes full circle.
God is good.
Well,
Hashtag blessed.
I think it's different because we just write differently. You're very much more congenial and relatable. I'm much more professional and stoic, and it's
but because
it's
I'm
it's a great balance we have between each other. Like you're great at writing things that are relatable to people. I'm great at like scientific research.
But it's because I'm not. I can always like rely on you to like help me. Like, how can I? Like, what should I say for this thing, or how should I respond, to this email or whatever. So,
or how should you finish your last theological class that you're in when we're married and I helped you with?
Yeah, it's true. That's true. You did help me with my classwork. But yes, you were like obviously very academic, and I was maybe a little more social. So, you just, hidden talent writing is definitely like your talents for sure.
Thank you. Carlie's first hidden talent, if you don't know what it is, superhuman senses. She has incredible sense of smell, sight, and hearing. Anything that has to do with senses, she's superhuman with.
But what does that mean?
It means, literally, she can smell anything. Like, she walks into a room and she knows exactly what's going on in the room.
My kids are doomed.
Yeah, they totally are. She can see anything, mostly maybe because she wants to see everything. Something called Kravitz. But
explain what Kravitz is.
I don't know. You can explain what Kravitz is.
Kravitz. Mrs. Kravitz was the neighbor in I Dream of Jeannie, I believe. And she was like a busybody. Like, she always wanted to know what was going on, and like always peering out her window to see what was going on, like see what the scuttlebug was in the neighborhood. And so Kravitz,
that's Carlie's hidden talent.
Kravitz,
she knows everything that's going on at all times. So whether it's like in her area of expertise or in the neighborhood or anything, with our family or at the grocery store. She sees it all. All of it. She hears everything. We've talked about her hearing, her senses.
Talked about my hearing?
When I eat food and you hear everything,
yes.
every crunch I make.
Yes.
Those are her 3: sight, hearing, and smell.
Yes.
Those are her superhuman senses.
So I need to clarify. Kravitz is from Bewitched. And she's the nosy neighbor who's like always peering out her window. Not I, Jimmy Jeannie. Bewitched. Peering out her window, trying to figure out what's going on in the neighborhood. So Kravitz is essentially like an adjective that we call each other if like somebody is being nosy or wants to know something in our family. It's always like, geez, Kravitz.
Basically, Carlie and her mom.
Yeah, but
you're welcome. In really good,
but you're welcome.
Good ways, yeah. It's very beneficial to our family, so it's not a negative thing. It's totally beneficial.
Okay, so Ben's second one is his hidden talent is his ability to work out. So
what in the world?
So I mean this in the sense of like Ben has the ability to this very, very annoying ability, but also very amazing to like do 3 days of a sit-up like abs routine, and he comes out with a 6-pack. I mean, he can do crunches for literally a day, and he has a 6-pack, whereas the rest of the world is on a 6-week plan. And not even anywhere close. It's like extremely annoying the way that his body responds to working out and lifting weights. I mean, I'm thankful, don't get me wrong, but it's extremely annoying when I compare myself to maybe going on a run or doing something and he's lost 3 pounds at the end of our run. When I somehow have gained 3 pounds. So, I mean, I am thankful, but it's also extremely annoying. Ben's second hidden talent, working out.
AKA annoying Carlie.
His ability to get a 6-pack. Super hidden talent.
Carlie's second hidden talent, which is probably not hidden, is creativity. Face painting, chalk art, baking, anything that revolves around creativity, Carlie is amazing at.
That's honestly, so broad.
Yeah, but honestly, let's say a family is going to be the greatest showman for Halloween. Most people would buy costumes. Not Carlie. She's going to make every single one by hand. And then she's going to buy pantyhose and draw the tattoos for the tattoo man for our 1-year-old. So honestly, she will not be beat. She's creative.
Pantyhose. The face painting. You just said pantyhose.
Isn't that what it was?
No, it was like like dance wear fabric.
Okay.
But
sorry, priestly garments. Or face painting. If anyone wants to hire her for parties, it's not going to be a dragon. It's going to be a dragon breathing fire with webbed feet. I mean, it's so above and beyond, but she's so good at it. Chalk art, incredible. I mean, I have to like trace things to make them good, and she just like makes Ariel with flounder serving her tea. I don't know what. But anything creative, face painting, chalk art.
Well, chalk art's very forgiving, which is what's nice about it. It's very forgiving in the way that you can like shadow and blend and stuff, you know.
Well, she's very good at it, so.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's kind. Ben's third hidden talent is that he's extremely good with kids and
and animals.
And animals. So we used to call him Dr. Doolittle because he's kind of like comes off as shy, and people are probably getting a whole new side of Ben through this podcast. And you're all very welcome for that. But Ben, he can come off as just a little bit shy and quiet until you kind of get to know him. And
I'm introverted.
Yeah, he's introverted. But when he gets around kids, he's like a whole different person. I remember like the first time seeing him, like, wow. And kids like love you. Kids love you. Like kids that like don't like anybody else like love Ben. And like what I'm trying to say is if you want to hire both of us for a party, Ben can be the entertainment. Ben can be the entertainment. I can paint the kids' faces. But yeah, no, like you're incredibly gifted when it comes to like just being fun with kids. Like you're so just fun and silly and like not afraid to be stupid, and kids just really like gravitate towards you. And I feel like animals I don't know why that's so funny, but I guess animals just gravitate towards you.
They do. I don't know.
I'm just picturing like the squirrels like coming up to you or something.
Yeah.
No, but it's like something that like not every guy, guys especially, not every guy is like just easily like like so good with kids, you know. And even before you like you've even long before you've had kids, you've always been, and maybe it helped that you were an uncle at like a really young age, but you've always just been really good with kids, and kids just like really seem to like gravitate towards you, and I love that about you.
Thank you.
Dr. Doolittle.
Carlie's third hidden talent is celebrating holidays. So good. Literally, our house changes every holiday. And
as it should.
If it was for me, it never, ever would. Ever. But looking at our walls right now, we have hearts all over our house, Valentine's Day decorations. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful because it makes our kids love, like Truman loves holidays. And it's all because of Carlie. It really is. So it's a huge hidden talent. She loves holidays. She's great at celebrating holidays, from the decorations we have to the food we eat. She's awesome at it. It's a great talent. Very thankful for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was very kind. I do love holidays.
Yes.
Okay, your fourth and final hidden talent. Well, not final hidden talent, but for the evening. You have many hidden talents, but Ben is extremely handy, which, thank God. I don't think I could be married to somebody who like doesn't know how to do simple things, because my dad's a contractor and like grew up being able to do everything. So I just kind of assumed that like that's just how guys are and what they should be able to do. And I'm just really thankful that you know how to change a tire and change our brakes and change our oil and try to fix our fridge when we bought it refurbished for a couple $100.
I fixed that fridge 5 to 6 times
with our game show earnings. But like, you know how to, I feel like we make such a great team because I'm very like visionary in what I want things to look like. And I just tell you what I want you to do and you're able to do it, which is really awesome. And that's been great for our, like our home decor and just styling purposes. Like I just basically tell you what, like I'm wanting, and you're able to make it, which is really, I'm
bookshelf, coffee table, picnic table.
Yeah, like I'm so thankful for that because, well, I was gonna say it saved us money. I don't know if it actually ends up saving us money, like when you make things yourself. But sometimes you think you can like spend more money when you make things yourself. But it just is. It's so much more meaningful. Yeah. And I'm so thankful that like you're able to do those things because, I like to have those things, and it's very sentimental. I'm a very sentimental person. That should be a hidden talent.
Sentimental.
Me being sentimental.
Such a hidden talent.
It's for sure a hidden talent.
Yes.
Maybe not so hidden. But I'm very thankful that you're handy and able to like bring to life things that are like important to me and like vision that I have for things. And you're able just to fix things. You don't have to like hire somebody to do things. However, remember when our TV broke? And it was like a very old TV and you felt convinced you could fix it. And it was like, Ben, like come on, like, let's just buy
took
a new
apart
TV.
the TV.
He took apart the TV, like, tried to figure it out, and then he finally just came to terms with, okay, we need to buy a new TV.
Yep.
But you're very handy, and I'm
Thank
thankful for you being able to fix a lot of things in our house, in our cars.
Thank you. Carlie's fourth hidden talent is this is hopefully not too arbitrary. She just knows what people need. And this is really serious. So sounds like a serious tone.
So kind.
She just, ever since the time I met her, she just always had this sixth sense of what people need. So a certain word of encouragement, or a baked good, or a letter, whatever it was, she just always knew what people needed. And I think it's a huge hidden talent. Maybe not hidden, but something she does really, really well is she understands what people need, and she's able to deliver that in a timely manner. So,
thank you.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to say. She's good at that.
Maybe that's what made me good at doing wedding hair and makeup for brides.
Yeah, I think that is what makes her good at that. She knows what to say.
Like the calm factor
so
for like
calm.
brides on a
She's like
wedding day.
Hidden talent, totally calm. At least how she
Cool
shows.
as a cucumber.
Cool as a cucumber. How she shows it on the outside, even if it's different on the inside. Very cool customer.
Cool customer. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's kind.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, many more hidden talents, but that'll be it for the day, the evening, the episode. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful week. Thanks for joining us on Bizography. Please subscribe or leave a comment. And if you have questions or want to open up a discussion, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Bizography. See you next time.